We all bring different experiences to those stories, to those characters, and it's not that often that everybody has the same experience because we've all lived very different lives, and so our perspectives can be quite different. And I think also, like going with the eras theme, like in different eras of our lives, we get different things out of the music or the books, or even looking at a piece of art that we saw 20 years ago. We've lived a life then, and then the way we view it can be quite different.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rights for Women. It is Wednesday, November the 6th, as I'm recording this, and this episode will be out in just a couple of days, so hot off the press. This episode is a really fun one, and I'm hoping that even if you're not a Swiftie, that you will indulge myself, Michelle Barraclough, and Alli Sinclair as we share with you our thoughts on what writers can learn from Taylor Swift. I'll tell you a little bit more about how this podcast came about in a moment. But first of all, a few things I wanted to share with you about the podcast and about Rights for Women on Substack, and a few other things I have going on. There are a few more episodes left for this year on Rights for Women. I've already recorded an interview with Brooke Crawford about her fantastic, fabulously funny, gorgeous debut rom-com, Better Than the Real Thing. And that will be coming out in a few weeks. I'm also going to be talking to Kate Horan about her brilliant new thriller, The Edge. And I'll also be bringing you a chat with Catherine Pollock about her really cute and quirky Starry-Eyed, which is a rom-com of sorts, but also a fabulous piece of literary fiction. They are pretty much the only episodes left for the year, and there is some other news about Rights for Women for 2026, but I'm going to hold off on telling you that. I know, causing tension, the suspense is killing you, I'm sure. But it's all good. So before we get into the chat, let me also tell you about some other things that I'd like to share with you. I've just put out yesterday the latest lot of bonus feedback on the Rights for Women Substack. That was a fabulous excerpt from a novel called Flight Path. And what I do when I do those excerpts is I give feedback to the writer. The writer sends in the work. I give feedback on the page, which goes directly to the writer. And then I video my thoughts, often with other feedback coming up additionally, and share that with all of the paid Substack subscribers. So that's proving to be a really popular bonus. And I have one more of those coming up before the end of the year. And of course, also as a Substack subscriber, you get the additional bonus ep that goes out each fortnight with the main episode. And there are a whole lot of other bonuses too, including write-ins. I'm planning some tutorials on aspects of the writing craft, and some additional bonus interviews which will be coming out through 2026. So it only costs $7 a month to be a paid Substack subscriber on Rights for Women, and there are plenty of bonuses that you get as part of that. So pop onto Substack, find Rights for Women, and I'll put the link in the show notes. And you can join us there as part of the paid Substack community. Of course, there is also a free Substack community on Rights for Women on Substack. And also, I think a shout out to all of those followers, and also to all of the followers on Instagram and Facebook. We really appreciate your support. If you would like to brush up on some aspects of your writing craft, you can find some on-demand courses at pamelacook.com.au, where I have courses available there for you to get straight into on hooking your reader with a fabulous opening, characterization, structure, plotting, including tension in your writing, and a few others. So you can find those all there. They're very reasonably priced at $37 for a few hours of instruction, and also that includes some exercises for you to do to really hone in on what it is you're trying to improve in your own writing. In other news, I have one book already out, which is a novella, which is in the Christmas anthology, A Country Practice Christmas. And that's proving to be really popular. It's selling well, flying off the shelves, as they say. So if you're looking for some great Christmas reads, there are 4 stories in there from myself, Penelope Janu, Renee Black, and Stella Quinn. They're fun, entertaining Christmas stories that will hopefully get you in the mood for the festive season. And in more exciting news, I have a re-release of my novel Cross My Heart coming out on the 2nd of December. Now, this book first came out in 2019 and I independently published it. It has been re-jacketed and will be produced in its new format by my publisher, my now publisher Vinci, and it's going to be available in Australia in print in trade paperback form, the normal format, and you'll be able to get that at Big W, some Dymocks stores and some QBD stores, but I'll keep you posted on locations. So if you're looking for another Christmas present or if you haven't yet read Cross My Heart and would like to sample some of my writing, that is coming out on the 2nd of December. And I have to tell you, it is so gratifying to have that book that actually was rejected by a publisher here that I then did publish independently. It has received some lovely reviews, which I've been really gratified to read and receive. And I've had great feedback on it and now is being formally published and will appear on bookshelves in stores. So that is really exciting. And thank you to everybody who has read and reviewed that book because that really helped with that whole process. Now, let me get on to this week's episode. So those of you who listen regularly to the podcast may know that I am a big fan of Taylor Swift. I attended her Eras Tour concert with my 3 daughters last year, and I have to say it has been one of the highlights of my musical experience life, attending that concert and being part of the absolute joy that Taylor brought to so many people across all ages. We talk about that more in the podcast episode itself, but my friend Michelle Barraclough and I often compare Swiftie stories and send little memes and little Instagram posts about Taylor to each other. We talk about lyrics, we talk about all sorts of things. And not so long ago, I discovered that Alli Sinclair, another well-known Australian author, is also a massive fan. And I think she might even put Michelle and I to shame on that front, and you'll find out why in this episode. But we just got chatting and I suggested that we do an episode because this is something that I've thought for some time, particularly in the last couple of albums that Taylor's put out, the lyrics that she has penned, the way she's woven them together with the music and the kind of storytelling that she has been engaging in, particularly over the last couple of albums. For some time now, I've been thinking that we can learn a lot from her, and not just on the writing front, but in the way she markets and promotes herself as well. So I got together with Michelle and Alli, and we had a great conversation about this. I will warn you now, there is some fangirling, and I have attempted to edit out as much of that as possible. I do hope that even if you're, as I said earlier, even if you're not a Swiftie, I hope that you will find something in this episode that will be useful for you. And if not, that I hope you at least find it entertaining. Let's get on to the chat about what writers can learn from Taylor Swift with Michelle Barraclough and Alli Sinclair. Michelle Barraclough, Alli Sinclair, Swifties forever. Welcome to Rights for Women.
Hey, Swifties.
Yeah, audience, anyone listening, we're not really sure how this is going to go. We're just putting it out there and hoping that you love Taylor as much as we do. Before we do that, we're just going to do a quick catch up. Alli, I think you were back on the podcast maybe back in COVID or something.
Yeah. Well, there's been a few Taylor Swift albums between my books.
True.
But yeah, no, I've got one that just came out only a couple of months ago.
Ooh, exciting. Tell us about it before we get into talking about Taylor.
Oh, A Woman's Voice, which I like to think is, I think, a little bit on the Taylor-inspired side, because it's about strong women finding their place in the world and not being afraid to speak up. And it's set in 2 timelines, first in 1912, around the suffragette era, and then in 1965 in Outback Australia, in the second one, feminism, and it's all about music and women's rights, which I think fits in quite nicely with our Tay.
Perfect.
Sounds
You've had a little
fabulous.
gap between your last book and this one, haven't you? But I know that you've been doing other things, I think, involving script writing, and is that right?
Yeah, so I'm producing a documentary, which is based on the research that I did for my last book, Code Breakers. So the documentary is called Red Lipstick Intelligence. I just got another Taylor reference. I just realized Red Lipstick.
Perfect.
And that's
She's everywhere.
cool. Yeah, and so it's about women in signals intelligence in Australia from war until present day. And I can now talk about it, finally, but the Code Breakers is being made into a feature drama as well. So, yes,
Alli,
look,
congrats. Thank you. So exciting.
Well done, Alli.
Thank you.
Oh, we'll have to have you back on to talk about that when that comes out. And in fact, I think it might have been the Code Breakers that we last spoke about on the podcast. Now it's
I
all
think it
coming back
was.
to me.
Yeah.
Is it all coming back to you now?
It's all coming back to me now.
He's going to be the first to break out into song. That's what I want.
You don't want to hear me sing, Billy.
Probably better when doing it in the middle of the day rather than after a couple of wines. So,
We could do a trio.
I think we need a policy that if one breaks into song, the others have to join in.
okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
sounds fair enough.
Some kind of harmonization.
And for anybody who is listening to the podcast rather than watching, you will have to hop on YouTube because we do all have Taylor backgrounds on our video screens, but you'll definitely see that on Insta anyway. I think before we get into the nitty-gritty, where we are going to talk about writing lessons that we can learn from Taylor Swift. And I think this idea came to me gradually, but like you, Alli, I found the last book that I was writing, these phrases that pop in, I'd think, oh, that's like a Taylor Swift reference, or that's out of a Taylor Swift song. And then I started to think, wow, there's so much that we can learn as writers from Taylor. And of course, not just on the writing front itself, but in terms of her marketing, promotion, just so many things that we're going to talk about. But I think before we do that, it might be stating the obvious, I suppose, but what is it about Taylor that we love? Why are we Swifties, basically? Michelle, do you want to start with that one?
My gateway, my dealer was my daughter. Us. She gave me the drug of Taylor. Obviously, I've danced to Shake It Off at weddings and things like that in the past. I've always just loved her music. Without even knowing it, by osmosis, I have inhaled various lyrics of hers, Love Story, You Belong With Me or whatever, but not really knowing much about who she was or thinking, oh, I'm really so much older than her. It's not really relatable. But then I guess once Eras Tour Madness hit and we were trying to get the tickets the year before, and even before that, Cheska started to listen to it more. We were listening to a lot of things in the car together and doing road trips and things like that. We would just dive deep. And I think when you're in the car, you really start to listen to lyrics.
Yeah.
And that's when I just realized she was a genius and we are all just mere mortals in her presence. I mean, of course, not every song is a humdinger, but so many songs are just like the storytelling. I'm a big fan of detail and specificity. And so there'd just be like this gorgeous golden nugget of a description that would just blow me away. Or the other thing that I just think is genius is how she transcends generations. She could be talking about anything from first love to heartbreak to an affair to bullying, whatever it might be. And you just go, oh, God, she's nailed that. And you're immediately transported to a period or a time in your life where you felt those same things in your gut. So I don't know if that answers the question.
No,
but,
it does.
that's-
It definitely does.
Yeah, that's how I became a Swiftie.
What about you, Alli?
My son, when he was 4, he was really into watching music videos, and there he just came across one of Taylor's songs and he just had it on repeat. And and I loved it. I was like, okay, so then I sort of started doing a bit of a deep dive into her albums. And I think for me, it was her lyricism. It's like when you're reading a book and you read a passage or a sentence and you just have to put it down and then you have to sit in it, right? And it just washes over you and it just becomes a part of you. And I love that when there's some lyrics that just hit you like what she can convey in one line often takes an author 3 pages or more. It's a whole chapter. So that conciseness, but the ability to really pull at the strings of your heart or to place you in a certain time or situation in just like a couple lines is phenomenal. And the other reason I love Taylor Swift, her way of conducting business, right? Like we're all creative, so we all know how difficult it is to be creative and that sometimes it's not the easiest world to work in. And obviously art and business, I think, still don't coexist nicely together, but she's found a really great way to be able to do that. And the way that she has fought so hard to get her music back and take control, and the very, very smart re-recording of her music was genius. So from a creative and a business level, is very inspirational.
Yeah.
What about you, Pan?
As the mother of 3 daughters who are the 2 eldest are very close to Taylor in age, 30 and 33. And then the younger one obviously just following in not following in their footsteps, definitely got a mind of her own. But I feel like they've grown up with her and I feel this like proud mother feeling. It's really weird, like just having watched her from those very early kind of country music days and the way that she has grown and evolved and become such a dynamic, assertive young woman. For me, that has really mirrored, I think, and echoed what I wanted for my daughters. And I think she has had such an influence on their lives. It's been incredible. And definitely in terms of her music, the storytelling, like I love country music and I still love some of those really teardrops on my guitar and Tim McGraw and all of those early songs. But just to see the way she has evolved and changed and grown has been amazing. And she sings, like you said, Michelle, it's the universality of what she sings about. Like, even though we're obviously a lot older than some of her fans, but it doesn't mean that we haven't felt those same emotions at some point in our life. And I think that is definitely the secret to good writing too, in terms of fiction, is the ability to connect with your readers on that deep emotional level. And I think she really does that. Yeah, look, we're going to get into all of this in so much more depth. So let's launch in.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So that kind of actually is the first thing that I jotted down when we were talking about what we're going to talk about today and about writing lessons that we can learn from Taylor. And for me, it is very much about creating that emotional kind of connection with the reader. She's been criticised a lot, as we know, but she's been criticised over the years for putting too much of her personal life in there. But for me, I love that kind of honesty, and I love that honesty in fiction writing as well. And I think if, as writers, we don't have a certain degree of honesty and a certain degree of emotional connection to what we're writing about, it's not going to make an emotional connection with the readers. And I think her lyrics have definitely become more and more complex and layered over the years, comparing albums now to the earlier days. Her ability to match those lyrics with a certain mood in the music and to connect with the reader. I've got these lines from All Too Well written down. Did the twin flame bruise paint you blue? And just between us, did the love affair maim you too? Because in the city's barren cold, I still remember the first fall of snow and how it glistened as it fell. Like, it's just, for me, the imagery and the way she infuses that imagery with emotion is really amazing. And I just was thinking, as we were talking earlier, about us being older Swifties. And like, I know particularly with the new album coming out, The Life of the Showgirl, there's been a lot of criticism from certain quarters around it and people getting on and saying, oh, that's rubbish and the Shakespeare references are so banal and all this sort of stuff. But it's, for me, almost like the difference between commercial fiction and literary fiction too. She doesn't set out to be Shakespeare. She's just telling a story. She's using great imagery and words and everything. And that might not appeal to everyone, but there's a large audience out there that love that stuff.
And what else is she going to write? You've got to write about your life.
Yeah.
Why should she apologize for writing about her life? It's like her life is all of our lives in so many ways. It reminds me of that quote in the Miss Americana documentary where she said something like, "Sorry, was I loud in my own house that I bought with the songs that I wrote about my own life?" Which is another thing I love about her is now she just totally stands up for herself and does not apologize for anything that she's putting into her songs. But yeah, you're right, Pam. She's writing about what she wants to write at, and that universality, I think, is what's so appealing.
That's one thing from me. How about you girls? What would you say are some lessons that you think we can learn as writers?
Probably going back to, I think, conciseness. As a songwriter, obviously, you've only got a certain amount of lines and time, or a 10-minute verse, and you can do what you like. But I think being able to say so much with so little words is an absolute art form. And I, especially on my early drafts, they're really long and I have to cut them back. But I think as a writer, being able to, say more with less is definitely something that I aspire to. And I think the imagery and the themes and drawing them out through the stories and the characters is obviously something we all love as well. But I think that's also something that Tally does really well. I definitely will say Folklore is my all-time favourite.
Mine too.
It's number one, won't move. Sorry. I am absolutely adoring Showgirl. But the storytelling in that is absolutely phenomenal. What I really love is the fact that when I listen to an album, I'll put it on repeat a zillion times, and then I'll be like, maybe I need to change it up, and I'll go to another one of Taylor's. And every listen, I get something different from it. I guess every era of listening to the different albums. So I'm right on my speak now era at the moment. I'm revisiting that, and I'm getting different things from it. So I love that because I've had a bit of time between listening and then having my life and saying, no, I pull different things. And to be able to write music that you can go back to and get something different every time, I think is really special.
Which is what we would love for our books, isn't it? You'd
Yeah,
love to
absolutely.
go back and read them and have that body of work that you can see the evolution of the writer in a way, but that the early stuff is still just as enjoyable as the more recent work.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's so much I want to talk about. One of the things I really admire about her songwriting is some of those big, epic songs that tell an entire story. And she was doing this from such a young age. So when you think of Love Story, basically a modern day retelling of Romeo and Juliet / West Side Story, there's all those kind of cultural elements coming into it. But she's telling this story from go to woe in a 3-minute song. And she's continued to do that as a songwriter decade upon decade. Even with this latest album, The Life of a Showgirl is essentially takes us on a journey of this young ingenue who's bedazzled by this older showgirl, wants to become a showgirl, but she tries to warn her off, but she does it anyway. And then she becomes the jaded showgirl that's seen it all. It's married to the sequins and the lace and what have you. So that, and then songs like on Folklore, The Last Great American Dynasty.
Yeah.
I mean, we would say dynasty. We have to say it like Taylor would say it. you just look at the first verse of that, and it's almost an entire story. Rebecca rode up on the afternoon train. It was sunny. Her saltbuck's house on the coast took her mind off St. Louis. So again, you're just going, oh, there's a great hook. I want to know more. So I think that's also one of the great things about Taylor Swift lyricism as well, is her ability to really hook you in with an opening. And so many of her songs do that. I would say to everybody that's interested in that storytelling ability to go and have a look at some of these songs that do tell an entire story, like The Last Great American Dynasty, like Love Story, like The Life of a Showgirl. And you'll see how she also does that thing that some writers do, where you're zoomed out and then you zoom in to the specific. I'm trying to think of another song where she does that. Is it? Oh, Right Where You Left Me, which is just such a effing good song. It's on Evermore, I think. And it starts off with friends break up, friends get married, strangers get born, strangers get buried, trends change, rumors fly to new skies, but I'm right where. And then it zeroes on in this woman. She's a woman sitting in the corner of a restaurant with dust in her pinned up hair. I love that line so much. And elected on my pinned up hair. And she has not moved on from this breakup. So there's all these sort of Miss Havisham vibes about this character zeroing in on and then you get the backstory in the second verse where she talks about how I'm right where you left me when there was a smashed glass when you told me about how you were leaving me, but I'm still here sitting in the restaurant. And it's just heartbreaking, but it just tells an entire story in that song about this woman with all these incredible references to great literature. So that's one of the things I really love. And then there's just that specificity as well that I talked about before, where she hones in on a specific image. One of my favorite all-time songs, you know that Folklore is my favorite album because I like a lot of songs from Evermore as well. But the other one I love is "'Tis the Damn Season."
That's one of my
I
favorites.
love
I
that.
love that one. Yeah.
And it's just that idea of going back to your hometown and seeing the guy that you might have ended up with, and if you had taken the road less traveled, or that sort of that sliding doors
moment.
thing. Yeah. And I would say to people as well, go and have a look at songs like that, or Illicit Affairs. Make sure nobody sees you leave, hood over your head, keep your eyes down, tell your friends you're out for a run, you'll be flushed when you return. This is a woman who's having an affair and she's ashamed of it. And just in a few lines, she really encapsulates those feelings.
It's that show don't
The
tell thing,
showing.
isn't it? She's really showing so
Yeah.
much with images. Like in Red, loving him is like driving a new Maserati down a dead end street. And then she just goes on with all the different colours in autumn so bright just before they lose it all. She's just got such strong images that really show exactly what she's talking about. Yeah.
I think, like Illicit Affairs, there's that line, what started in beautiful rooms ends with meetings in parking lots. Does that not just tell the entire, like the shame and the sort of the heartbreak and this big, beautiful thing that felt so amazing just turning into this awful, like that just tells so much in those two lines. Like it's really clever.
And you were saying, Shell, about the hooks that she has, which I think are amazing. And the other thing one of the things that I love that she does is at the end of a lot of her songs, she'll do this abrupt ending where it's bang, that's it, it's finished. And I think that's such an important thing for writers at the end of scenes, at the end of chapters. Don't labour and feel you've got to draw everything down to a fade away at your ending of a scene or a chapter, just finish it and leave it. You're leaving that on a hook as well at the end, so that you're dying to listen to the next song, then read the next chapter. I think that's a real skill as well.
Yeah, and even like within the songs, like Dress, there's that moment where it's just silent, and then it starts again. Like I love it every single time. I wait for it when I'm listening, but it's the same thing. Yeah, when we're writing scenes or going between chapters, I think it's important to have that ear, like for the reader to process what's just happened, and get ready for the next part. But it's also, I guess, from a novelist's point of view, like varying sentence lengths and chapter and paragraph lengths and those sorts of things, like those changing the rhythm is really important. It keeps the reader engaged, but also you can build a bit of anticipation or deliver the right line at the right time, which is so important. But I think in terms of, Taylor's music, she's really good at doing that.
Brings us to the incredible and very famous bridges of Taylor.
Bridget. Oh, what's her favourite part?
What's your favourite bridge?
Oh, God, so many, but all too well 10-minute version.
Yeah.
The bridge in Illicit Affairs, like you have. Oh, you're on your own, kid. I could go on forever because I am like a bridge junkie, and that's it's like often I'll have the music loud, but then as soon as we're about to hit the bridges, and it's just like screams. Like I love bridges.
What would you say is the equivalent of a bridge? If you think of the structure of a novel, what would you say is the equivalent kind of turning point in a novel of a bridge?
I'd say the black moment.
Yeah.
Like just where everything's falling apart for your character and they can't see a way forward. I think that's that oh shit moment where they really basically either come into their own or they don't. I would say that.
And then they come back stronger. I'm thinking of the bridge in Smallest Man Who Ever Lived.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Such a good song.
And we missed it here as part of the Eras tour because it was on Tortured Poets. Seeing the film clips of her just striding down the stage in that amazing dress and just really, okay, this is it. I've turned a corner and I'm letting you have it.
I reckon that's one of her best bridges.
I do
ever.
too. I love it. The music behind the lyrics just builds and builds. It's so powerful.
Yeah, it is. It's that big moment. I guess as readers and writers, we read out the books or write the books knowing there is going to be that black moment. There is going to be that moment where the character is going to have to come into their own somehow, and it's their really great opportunity for growth. So even though we know it's coming, it's still a surprise and it's still something we really want. And I think that's the same with bridges. They're coming and you know it's going to be significant and can change the entire direction of the song.
Yeah.
And they're reflective and truth-telling at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah, that Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, we sent by someone who wanted me dead. It's this real truth-telling. She's telling the story about their short-lived love affair, but she's really getting to the guts of it. And she's just, reflecting on, I would have died for your sins. Instead, I just died inside. You deserve prison, but you won't get time. And one of my favorite lines in that bridge is, were you writing a book? Were you a sleeper cell spy? In 50 it will always be declassified. Just, it's so clever, but it's just that truth-telling that comes out in a bridge, I think. And she's also reflecting on what's happened and what's to come. Yeah.
And again, with those lyrics, she's so clever at drawing on popular culture. We'll get on to talking about literary references and stuff, but she draws on things that people are familiar with and then will twist them or show them in a new way. I think give a new
Yeah.
perspective to them, and I think that's what we all relate to as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. You can get like 6 people in the room and listen to the same album, or you can get 6 people to read the same book, and we all bring different experiences to those stories, to those characters, and it's not that often that everybody has the same experience because we've all lived very different lives, and so our perspectives can be quite different. And I think also, like going with the eras theme, like in different eras of our lives, we get different things out of the music or the books, or even looking at a piece of art that we saw 20 years ago. We've lived a life then, and then the way we view it can be quite different.
I think that it reminds me of the author and writer Taffy Brodesser-Akner. She's an American writer. She wrote Fleischman is in Trouble and Long Island Compromise, and she worked for the New York Times for a long time. She's an amazing feature writer as well. And she's also a Swiftie. She went to the Eras tour, and she said, My Tears Ricochet. She just thought, it never really resonated. It's a terrible title. I've never really liked that song. But it was played at the Eras tour. Taylor sang it, and she said her whole feeling around that song changed when she heard Taylor's, because she really listened to the lyrics. And it also coincided with a time in her life where she had been writing for someone for a really long time, or she'd been with a company and they let her go, or she just got less work, or something had happened where she wasn't working with them anymore. And she felt quite betrayed by it, but she couldn't put words around it. And she said she just was standing at the Eras tour, that song, Taylor was singing that song, and she was just bawling her eyes out because it suddenly, every single lyric spoke to her about this experience. And she realized that what she was grieving for this relationship, this business relationship that she thought she'd had, and she didn't feel like she could grieve for such a thing. And Taylor put the words around it. So sometimes, you're right, Alli, sometimes it's the circumstances, isn't it? Not just different people getting different things, but you as a person, as you go through your life, or that song coming into your life at a time when you need it, or it just, it's different.
It's different.
But you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, she wrote an essay about that people should be able to find online.
That'd be great. I'll find
Taffy
that, Shelley.
Taffy Brodesser-Akner, Taylor Swift. If you Google that, I'm sure
I'll put it in the show notes. I'll find it and put in the show notes.
Really good, yeah.
And just one of the things that I noted down when we were preparing for this was, and it's, you go back, and this is an old song, and it's corny in a way, but The Best Day. The best day with you today. And just as a daughter, but as a mother, like talking about when she was little and how much her mum supported her, and then going through all that horrible teenage betrayal and friendship thing, and then just realizing that you were always there. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. It's such a simple song, but when you really listen to the lyrics, and as a mother, you can see, and as I was saying, like for me, like seeing her grow up alongside my daughters, she can manage to inject so much emotion into such simple stories through all of the different techniques that she uses. But one of the things we mentioned, and we haven't gotten into yet, was about the kind of literary references that she incorporates, and has increasingly, I think, incorporated into her lyrics in more recent years. In One Life of a Showgirl, there's quite a few Shakespearean references, and I just think it's so clever the way that she is able to weave those into the storyline and give the songs that extra layer of meaning.
It's like a springboard for her, though, isn't it? Because she doesn't, even with the sort of sampling that she did of Father Figure from George Michael, it's unrecognizable, and she's made it her own, which I love. But Tolerate It is another song that's on Folklore that I think she has said the springboard for that was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And it's like she's taken that kind of that concept of the wife who just has the older husband. She doesn't feel like she's loved, that she is just really tolerated, and she's not even sure why she's in this marriage or why he's with her, and she feels very much less than. And Taylor's taken that and put a bit of a modern twist on it, which I love that, because she's taking a sort of a literary reference, but making it her own. And I think that's really important as well. I know people do retellings of stories, like Kate Forsyth, amazing. She'll take a fairy tale and she'll twist it so it's completely unrecognizable. So it's definitely lessons to be taken from Taylor in that respect.
And there
I
was
also love the marrying of different creative mediums. There's quite a few authors who have written about famous paintings, but it's really lovely to see all the arts crossing over, and probably gives readers or listeners or viewers opportunities to then step off into other and explore them and say, oh, I didn't know that book was based on this painting. I want to go and find out more about this painting. Yeah, so it's really nice when I see creatives give nods to each other.
Yeah.
And what's the reference in Florida, Michelle? Because I remember you told me about
Oh my
that short
God.
story that she references in Florida.
When you feel just so clever about, I'm listening to that song for the very first time when Tortured Poets Department came out, and I just listened to it, and that song just leaped out at me. I love that song so much. It probably is one of my top 3, actually. Florida came out, and I was listening, and I thought, oh my God, she's talking about a woman stuck in a hurricane, and that sounds so familiar. I've just read a short story by Lauren Groff called Florida, and the woman's in a bath sitting, and she's drinking, and the lyrics were just like, and I'm just going, oh my God, could this be based on that short story by Lauren Groff? And then, of course it was. And then not only that, but she gets Florence from Florence and the Machine to sing a duet with her. And I just love that beautiful marrying of literature, songwriting, and then the artists themselves. I would have loved to have seen Taylor and Florence on stage. I have watched the YouTube video of it, because obviously Our Eras tour came before Tortured Poets Department. But Florida, such a good song. Like, I always tell people, put it on and turn it up loud, and you'll just love it.
Yes, down.
Yeah.
I love that bit. Yeah.
And the other thing, actually, I thought about this before too, just talking about how she really gets into the gritty stuff there. But if you look at any of her albums, some are quieter than others, and they all have a different vibe. There's Reputation, obviously, was the big revenge album, and then Tortured Poets is the angsty. But she's very good at always infusing a different mood, the light and shade. And then, because I'm always very guilty of this, as Michelle knows, she reads a lot of my stuff before it goes to publication, and I can tend to really focus on the angst and the tragedy probably more than the joy. But it's something that I've had to become very conscious of, is having those moments of light and shade, and making sure that there's always kind of joyous moments to balance out any darker side. And I think she's great at that. When you look at a whole album and all the tracks, there might be an overall mood, but there's always something that's going to break it up or give that relief to that, whatever it is that she's going for on the album.
Yeah.
Are we talking track 5s?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess for the non-Swifties watching, I guess track 5 on most all. Do we agree all?
It's a thing. It's a thing.
It is a thing. I always look forward to track 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for example, The Life of a Showgirl, track 5 is
Eldest daughter.
Exactly, which is for a fairly light-hearted album.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the gut-wrenching one.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, the first couple of times I listen to it, and then the next time I listen to it, it's quite different.
Yeah.
That's the sprinkling of the narcotics into her songs, Alli.
That's
Another reference. We're doing Easter eggs here ourselves, aren't we?
Okay, girls, let's talk about Easter eggs.
I'm an Easter egg lover. What I love about the Easter eggs, and I think Taylor's said this before, is that you can be involved or as distant as you want. You can watch a video clip of hers or uh, listen to music and you can just take it on that level. But for those of us who love going on Easter egg hunts, you can just do massive deep dives in it. So I guess for listeners who aren't familiar with Easter eggs, it's little hints and clues about maybe aspects of Taylor Swift's life or any albums that might be coming out. So us little Easter egg hunters love to love to find them. And one of the reasons I enjoy them so much is because I love putting Easter eggs in my own books. And especially, I think, because I write dual timelines, I like to be able to pop something in one timeline and then it pop up in the other timeline. And that's a really good way, I think, for me to be able to weave the things together.
So it's like foreshadowing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But it's usually really subtle. And I think probably a really great example of that in a dramatic scene is Bruce Willis movie.
The Sixth Sense?
Yes, that's it. I won't give away spoilers, but for those who have watched it, or if you're interested in Easter eggs and you want to watch it, it's such a great movie in that you watch it, you're going along at the story, and then all of a sudden at the end you go, oh, and everything comes together. And then you go and watch it 2, 3, 4 times, and then you start seeing all those clues that were there all along and how it all tied together in the end. And I think that's just really clever writing.
Mm.
And as a viewer, I think it's also really fun as well
Yeah.
to watch. But
So are there any particular Taylor kind of Easter egg trails that you've enjoyed following?
pretty much all of them. And I thought, what I'll do is write a little list of probably the most recent one, which is, of course, The Fate of Ophelia. So in that one, like she said, there's 100 Easter eggs in there. In the music video, there's a scene of Taylor and her backup dancers, and they're wearing red and they're doing a little dance. And that's sort of an homage to Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, which is a Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell movie. And they were showgirls in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then Taylor's, going through her sourdough era. So that where she like poses to be in this painting and there's bread on the table in front of her, it's actually her sourdough.
Yeah, there's so many in The Fate of Ophelia. Like, it's been so much fun looking at them all and finding them from the very first scene when it starts to zoom into that theatre foyer and on the carpet is written the words Ophelia, on the steps is of, and then on the balustrades above is the fate. So it's like the fate. And then there's a guy with a cleaning cart. So for those of you who don't know, Taylor used to come and go from the Eras tour, or come to the Eras tour to the stage in a cleaning cart. That's how they disguised her so that she wasn't mobbed by fans or people couldn't see what outfit she was wearing or whatever. So there's all these little nods. One of the ones I love too about that is there's so much nods to Travis in there. Like, there's photos of him on the mirrors in the showgirl change rooms. There's Travis everywhere. And of course, keep it 100 on the land, the sea, the sky. 100 is his number plus her number. So her number is famously 13. And if you went to the Eras tour, you would have seen, or any of Taylor's concerts, people put 13 on their hand. Travis's number is 87. So 87 plus 13 is 100. So there's always these references to 100 coming through everywhere. I think there's a couple of videos on YouTube if anyone's interested in seeing how she does those Easter eggs. The Easter eggs in the Fate of Ophelia video, and then you can go in and just see it. And it's really, it's so much fun. And great to be able to
So
put in.
also, I'm just thinking, listening, because I'm definitely not up on all that. Like, I knew that existed, but I haven't gone down that rabbit hole.
Well, it's fun. It's fun.
I know. I'm going to save that for when I have some time over the holidays. But I'm just thinking in terms of marketing too. Like Alli, you were saying, that obviously in writing we do those little things and foreshadowing. And I guess once you're conscious of it too, and I think studying the way Taylor does it could definitely spark some ideas for us as writers within our work, but also great marketing ideas, right?
Absolutely. Actually, in A Woman's Voice, there's a very, I guess, obscure reference to a particular Taylor Swift song in the book, because my publisher's like a massive Swiftie as well. And I said to her, pick the song. And so I've left 3 little clues in the storyline. But I think if I say one of the clues, you'll go, oh, I know what it is. But anyway, so one of my main characters is knitting a red scarf. Yeah, that was just fun. That was just a thing that I wanted to do. But yeah, in terms of marketing, yeah, you can have a lot of fun with that. And I think readers really enjoy being along for the ride as well and feel like they're not part of the process, but like part of the story, I guess.
Yeah.
We've been mentioned before about the sense of community and how Taylor's really good at building that sense of community. This is one of the ways in which she does that. And I think it's one of the ways authors can probably do it as well. Not just the content of what you're writing or what her lyrics are, but the delivery of it. For example, the track list on the back of The Life of a Showgirl, the outline of the words is identical to the shape of the Eras tour stage.
Yeah, I know. How brilliant.
Yeah. So things like that, she's having so much fun just packaging everything up with the opals and the orange and the blue. And it's just all intertwined and she has so much fun. But her fans love spotting the Easter eggs. And I think sometimes they probably spot things that she hasn't even been aware of. Popped up and that's delightful to her as well.
And I think for those who write series, Easter eggs can be a really amazing way to do that. Probably a little bit easier than standalone if you want to take across a few books. But yeah, even just writing a standalone book, like you can still put in a whole lot of Easter eggs there.
I just wanted to quickly say, as a newly minted 2-year Swiftie, I was very proud of myself for identifying some of the Easter eggs in Life of a Showgirl.
Well done.
With that wish list, when she says a fat ass and a baby face, I said, is that a reference to him? Another one? Jessica and my daughter said, oh my God, Mum, I think it is. I didn't even have to consult the internet for that one.
Here you go. I love it.
And the Poison Thorny Flowers about cancelled with Blake Lively. We're talking in riddles here, people, but go Google. You will find them all. And I said, wow, I didn't even have to look that one up. Like, I'm so proud of myself.
You're a pro.
You're a pro.
So a couple of the things that you mentioned, Alli, particularly back at the beginning when we started talking in terms of her creative and business inspiration, is the way that she re-recorded her songs when the rights were sold out from under her, basically. And I think it rings a bell with me in terms for independent authors. In a way, I think she's an amazing role model for anybody who wants to maintain ownership of their intellectual property. She did lose it for a while, but and let's face it, she's probably, is she the richest woman in the world or one of the richest women in the world? But she's, through her own hard work, been able to buy back those rights. But I think it really shows the power or the lesson there too in taking control. Obviously, if we are not independently publishing, if we're going to a traditional publisher of some kind, there is a sense where you have to hand the copyright of your work over. But I think it just is a great lesson in reminding us to be really aware of what we're doing as authors with our creative property and the possibility that you can take control of it, you can own it, and you can then run with it and do whatever you like with it, as Taylor has.
Yeah, absolutely. The song I've got a constant replay at the moment is Father Figure, which was a flavor for me. It didn't jump out at me right at the very beginning, but now it's constantly being played very loud in my car. And I probably look like an idiot when people pull up beside me and I'm like, instead went into sleeping with the pigeons. But
I'll protect
Oh,
the family.
oh yeah, I know. Oh, best thing ever. But yes, for me, that's a reminder of, yes, being careful what contracts you sign, who you decide to work with, always keeping in mind your long-term plans and making sure your rights are protected.
My Tears Ricochet is very much about that as
Mhm.
well. It's about people who've been there
Yeah,
for her and then, yeah, they've buried her in the
yeah,
jewels she gave them.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it is, I think it's just, it's bringing a value and not giving it away so easily to the first person who offers you something, right? Yeah, which I think is really important for creatives because a lot of the time we're likely to believe that anyone who shows interest in your work is you should be really grateful.
Yeah.
But yes, it's really nice when people show interest in your work, but if they're not offering you a fair deal, then it's actually okay to say thank you. Why and not jump at the very first offering. And I think it's a lot harder for newer writers to be able to walk away from a deal on the table, but certainly if it's not fair deal, then yeah, absolutely walk away because you will regret it later.
Especially with publishers who do take all the rights and then they just don't do anything, say, for example, with the audio or with the ebook rights, or they don't sell into other territories. You really got to make sure that their intentions match yours. If you're going to take all the international rights, are you going to sell it into international markets or
Yeah.
not? Because if you're
Or
not, I'll find someone who will.
or build a clause into it and give them 12 months.
Exactly.
Want
Yeah.
to do it. And then if they haven't done it in those 12 months, pull the rights back and say, thanks, I'll do something. Yeah, I think it's really important for creatives to be able to have that business side, which I know for a lot of us is not a natural thing. And I 7 books in 8 years, 9 years, I can't remember now. Yeah, I've learned. I've had to separate the creative side to the business side, and I've learned how to be a lot more strategic and to seek advice from the right people and weigh up what's a fair deal and what isn't, and then be able to speak up about it. And that's, I think, for most creatives is really hard to be able to do, is just say, hey, look, this isn't on. This is what we agreed to, and now it's changed. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And I guess if you've got an agent, that's great because they do that for you. But people that don't have an agent, you can become a member of the ASA and they have a legal department, don't they? I think where you
Yeah,
can,
they do.
can get
They
advice
would
on that
do,
kind of thing.
contract
So
writing,
there is the help is there, definitely.
And even just speaking to more experienced authors
Yes.
who are usually quite happy to give you their like experiences, maybe steer you in the right direction as well, because we've all been there, we've all done that. And from most authors I know, we love paying it forward.
Yeah.
We're always happy to talk to up and coming authors and help them on their journey.
Yeah. What other lessons do you think are there too with Taylor in terms of kind of branding and marketing? Michelle, branding's right up your alley as
yeah.
somebody who develops author websites.
Yeah.
but-
I think the branding for Taylor and for many artists has been more fully developed later because they have more people around them that are helping them with that kind of thing. But when you're first starting out, I think that it's probably more important to be building a community. And Taylor was very good at this. The Swifties are the Swifties because Taylor invested a huge amount of time and effort and kindness into building that community. She would turn up to people's birthday parties and she still does hospital visits. Most of them we never hear about. But in the early days, she would go around to people's houses and take them gifts and have gatherings with them. And it reminds me actually of Matthew Riley. So he used to hand sell his books out of the boot of his car. And he still credits those early days of building that early readership in that community with where he is today. So I think that's probably another great lesson that we can take from Taylor. In terms of branding, there's so many things you can do, obviously, with your book. And we've all been to those book launches where they'll get themselves a dress. It's the same color palette as their book and might theme up their website for their new book release and get the little cupcakes with the little artwork and all that sort of stuff. And so all of that is super fun and it doesn't take much effort. And if you're putting that out on your socials and what have you, it can be really super fun. But I think the important thing is really just, doing the work, which is another thing that Taylor does. Her work ethic is out of this world. Like, she just keeps bloody producing. Most people who would be doing 3.5-hour shows for 2 years would not be writing 2 albums as well and recording them and putting them out.
Touring, yeah.
Exactly. So for non-Swifties, there's a movie coming out, which is going to be behind the scenes of the Eras tour. And obviously, hopefully there'll be a bit more about her songwriting during the tour, because I think she was ducking out to go and record Life of a Showgirl in Sweden while she was on tour on her days off, as you do. Yeah, work ethic, definitely another thing that we can take from Taylor, of just getting the work done.
Yeah, and I think connection with your readers or connection with your fans is such a genuine connection, and that makes all the difference. I know there's been some authors that I've met along the way. There was one particular author, she'd had 9 international bestsellers, and my first book had just come out that week, and I met her in an event and I got a chance to talk with her, and she was just so beautiful, and she was just like, "Oh, congratulations, first book, it's a really big deal, blah, blah, blah." And then she just opened up and we chatted about what it was like being a multi-international best-selling author. And then the one thing that really struck me, and I've never ever forgotten it, is she said that even after 9 books, every time she hands in the manuscript and every time a book is released, she's absolutely petrified, that it's going to be an absolute flop. And so I thought, if someone like her, and I absolutely adore books, shout out to Monica McInerney.
Monica, yeah.
Oh, wow, amazing. Yeah, and so I was thinking, if someone like her can feel like that sometimes, then it's okay for me to feel like that too. And I've never ever forgotten it, and I became an even bigger fan. But yeah, I think that genuine connection with fans, it comes through, and people remember that. And just a smile and a hello, if you see them and if you're signing a book and having a little conversation with them, it all makes a big difference.
And the other thing I think too is just, particularly when you think about the Eras tour and how she showcased all of the different eras of her music and her evolution. So if you think about that, if you were an author and you had 12 books out, 13 books, whatever, you might be writing in the same genre or you might be writing in different genres. But I think there's a lot to learn there from Taylor in terms of, growing and changing. As you grow and change as a person, that's inevitably going to impact the work that you're creating and putting out into the world. But there's still also that thread of the common things that we loved about her songs way back is still there in its essence. But it's okay to change. You don't have to necessarily always be writing exactly the same way or doing exactly the same thing. You can change and evolve and develop and still, I think, bring your old fans along, but you can create new fans as well.
Yeah, because did you notice in the title track, The Life of a Showgirl, when Sabrina's bit comes on, there's a real country twang. Yeah. So she definitely always brings in that bit of a country element into the music.
Yeah.
I'm just also so curious about her songwriting process. And there's a little bit of that in Miss Americana. She will literally just, any time of the day or night, she'll get an idea and she'll open up that voice memo on her phone or her notes and just start blah, 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 either singing or just saying the words or whatever it might be. And I think there's a real lesson in that as well. I know there are writers who say, this is not me. So it always just makes me want to, how do you do that? They say, if it's an idea that's a worthy idea, you'll remember it. No, you won't.
No.
As a menopausal woman, or even as a young premenopausal woman, if that idea, it can be the best idea in the world, it's gone if I do not write it down. And I think lesson from Taylor there, get your phone out, get your voice memo, whatever it is, and just get that idea down, no matter where you are or what you're doing. Because I think in that documentary, she was writing and recording the song Me off Lubber, which was a duet that she did. I love that song, by the way. It's such a lovely song. She's literally just saying the lyrics into her phone. And then she goes into the studio and says, I've got this idea. And they say, oh, how about we put some drums and this, and suddenly it becomes a song. And you're like, oh my God, that whole song and that amazing video and that everything just came from that quick little voice memo that she ripped off at 3:00 in the morning when she had an idea. Great. I love it.
Capture
So
the
inspiring.
idea.
Yeah.
We could talk all day, girls, and good chance we would. But the rest of what we're going to talk about is going to be our top 3 songs, and we're going to wrap up with life lessons that we think we can learn from Taylor Swift. We have covered probably some of those things already, but they're all going to be in the bonus ep. So anyone listening, if you want to hear that, you have to subscribe on Substack to Rights for Women and you'll be able to catch it. But for those who aren't going to be doing that, Michelle and Alli, thank you so much for this experimental episode of Rights for Women, where we've all been able to unleash our inner fangirl.
You're so welcome. Thank you.